All right, so we are working on the review for summative 7 worksheet. Why do I not have color? Okay. I have a couple of these are off 8.1, sorry. And it says sketch and find the horizontal and vertical components for this vector. And it will say on the quiz a reminder to be in degree mode, I think. So 100 miles an hour at a bearing of north 32 west. So you need to know where north is and where west is. And then off of north 32 towards the west. Wow, I think this pen is not a good plan. So that's 100 miles per hour. Do we use 32 when we go to find the components? No, we have to use this guy, which would be 90 plus 32 or 122. So then what? How do you find the components? Cosine first, yep, of 122, and then 100 sine of 122. And make sure you're in degrees. I got negative 53 basically. And 84.8. Anybody else get those? Okay. Does that seem right? Always double check. Negative, positive, yeah, okay. I think I won't do this one all the way through with you, but can we at least double check that we can find the angle? 70 at a bearing of south 24 east, okay? So south is down, east is to the right. Off of south 24 degrees. At 70 kilometers per hour. What can we do to find those components? Do we use 24 degrees? Nope. You could figure out, you could call it negative 66. That would work because it's off of the x. Or you could go this way, which would be 270 plus 4, 294, which the 294 and the negative 66 would be the 360. So it doesn't matter, either one. As long as you're going off the x-axis, you're good. So either negative 66 or 294. So 70 cosine of whichever, and 70 sine of whichever. And it should turn out, what, a positive and then a negative to get down into quadrant 4, okay? Everybody good? All right, this one says, find the component form, magnitude, and direction off the positive x-axis of a vector that goes from A to B with initial point A and terminal point B. Okay, so remember when you're doing from ordered pairs to components, you're going from A to B. So from 1 to negative 5 is actually down 5 or left 5, because you do this x, I can label these if that helps, x1, y1, x2, y2. So then for the y's, it would be 7 minus 1, because you went from 1 to 7, or positive 6. How do you find magnitude? Yes, Pythagorean theorem. And again, don't worry about the negatives. 36 and 25. 61, which is almost 8, I'm guessing. 7 point something. 7.8. Either one, yep. And then to find the direction angle, the quiz, this time I did give you a hint, like what quadrant are we in, so that if you could at least tell me that, I would know you're on the right track. -5, +6 is quadrant 2. You can use a regular 2, I don't care. And then how do we find an angle? Inverse tangent 6 over -5. -50 degrees, is that correct? Is that a quadrant 2? So it thinks you were doing the same thing but down this way. So we need to move it straight across to this quadrant. So we add 180. 129.8. Do we need to do another one of those, or at least the angle part? What do you think? Because I think it's a different quadrant. You tell me real fast. What's x2 minus x1? -10 minus 6. Make sure you're going in the right order. So it should be 4. And then -1 minus 3. So 4, -4. Anybody know that angle off the top of their head? Should be 45, but -45. But you can do magnitude. I'm going to trust you to do that. 4, -4 is actually in quadrant 4. So when you do inverse tangent, -4 over 4, I think it's going to give you -45 degrees, which would be okay. Or what would you add if you wanted to say it's in quadrant 4? I'm not moving it, but another name for it, because in polars you have to have a positive name. You don't here, but what would you do? Add 360. Is that 315, guys? Okay. Either one is okay. Because it doesn't say that it has to be a positive angle, so -45 is fine. As long as it's coming off the x-axis the proper degrees, doesn't matter which way you're going. Are we ready to talk about expected value? It's been a while. You had some practice on expected value in the packet. I hope you did it. If you didn't, does anybody have the problem stats packet handy? I just wanted to mention which page it was on. Here, I do. Okay. Yeah. Expected value practice was at the bottom of 15A, okay? Yeah, she's here. Emma, this is for you, and yesterday I forgot to give you a pass, so that came, so you probably need to go today. Well, this is somebody else, actually. I don't know. But it says 10:10, which would be roughly the end of class anyway. All right. So make sure you do the ones on the bottom of 15A, and the answer key should be posted in Google Classroom. But this example says, at a raffle, 150 tickets were sold for $5 each. For 2 prizes of $1,000 and $400, calculate your average expected net gain or loss if you buy a ticket. So there's 1 prize out of 150, sorry. And there's another 1 out of 150 that are winners. And that leaves how many to be losers? 148 out of 150. Is everybody okay with those probabilities? Now, we got to put in the amounts though. If you buy a ticket and you don't win, you lose $5. Does that seem okay? If you buy a ticket and you win, what are the two options? Got to be careful here. You don't actually win $1,000, right? You don't get a profit of $1,000. So when you subtract the $5 you paid for the ticket, it's $9.95. And the $400 winner, when you subtract the $5 ticket, is $395. So type all that in. It might be faster to type it like this if you just want to. 1 times 995 over this would be 995 over 150. Any way you type it, it should come up the same, but I got 4.33. Anybody else? Okay. Why is it positive? Yes, if you bought all 150 tickets for $5, you'd only spend $750. That's what you should do, right? If you knew they were only going to sell those, because you'd automatically win more than you spent. It's probably not a very good question. What if the prizes were 2,500? Oh, I don't think that's what I meant to do. Let's change this to say, and tickets cost, how many are we selling? 150? So let's say they cost $30. No, I want one where you're expected to lose. I think that'll work. I don't know. Let's see. I think the one on the quiz might come out negative is what I'm trying to figure out here. All right. So if it was the same story, but it came out that you were spending $30 on the tickets, you know what? I probably should just left the prizes the same. Anyway. All right. So 1 out of 150 is a winner. 1 out of 150 is a winner. And 148 out of 150 is a loser. The losers lose $30. Okay, if we're doing $2,000 minus 30, 1970. And $500 minus 30 would be 470. Okay, can someone try that and see? 1970 divided by 150 plus 470 divided by 150. Minus 30 times 148 divided by 150. Yeah, this time I got the expected value is negative $13.33. Okay, so on average, people are going to lose $13 when they try to win that 2,000. Make sense? So don't be surprised if it's negative, because that just means you're going to lose a little money on average, which is usually what happens when you gamble, right? That if over the course of the average, you're going to lose. All right, odds is on there, and I feel like we haven't reviewed this enough. Make sure you write yourself a note to know that odds means winners to losers. So what are the odds of rolling a 2 on a die? How many 2s are there that are winners? How many 2s on a die, guys? 1. How many losers? 5. It's not 1 out of 6 because it's not probability, it's odds. Okay, find the odds of choosing Tuesday or Wednesday from the days of the week. 2 to 5. Everybody okay on odds? You just got to remember what the definition is. And I did put it in all caps like that so that you remember to read it carefully. I noticed in odds in the paper the other day, it was the odds of like doing the bracket correctly. for March Madness, and it was like 1 to 9 billion or something, we'll say. Does it really matter if that's a probability or an odds? It's so tiny either way, right? So it was odds, but most of us would read it and think probability. Make sure you know how to do without replacement as well. So here's my example of without replacement, just to review this one more time. We did do it yesterday, but draw a heart, 2 cards in a row, so a heart and then a heart, from a standard deck without replacement. So if there's 13 hearts out of 52 cards the first time, and you draw a heart, when you go back to draw a heart, there would be 12 out of 51, okay? And you multiply those. All right, I'm very worried about this kind because we seem to really struggle with this. Use the chart below to answer the following questions about the type of ballot taken at a primary election based on the age of the voter. These are just similar to the last quiz, but what is the probability that a voter is 36 to 50 and a Democrat? So 36 to 50 and a Democrat describes 40 of the 112 people. And that reduces, but I don't care. Okay, we did these yesterday. Given a Republican, voter is over 50, given a Republican. Given a Republican means you need to use 55 as your denominator. Over 50 was 16 out of the 55. Okay. Voter is a Democrat or age 18 to 35. So if I ask somebody, are you a Democrat or age 30? These guys would say yes, these guys would say yes, these guys would say yes, and these guys would say yes. Democrat or age 18 to 35. Most common mistake is people add 57 and 30, but that double counts these 12. Do you see what I'm talking about? So it's easier to figure out how to add those up, whether you just do 12 plus 40 plus 5 plus 18, or you do 57 plus these 18. Either way, you should get 75. Did I do that right? And there was no given, so the denominator is just 112. Now, they're not necessarily in that order on the quiz, so don't just remember how we did them. You got to know what they mean. Is that enough? All right, then polars. We haven't talked about these for a couple days. The one on the quiz is multiple choice, I think. I'm almost positive. But can you give me some names? This one isn't bad because it's in degrees. Can you give me some names for that point right there? Like 4 names? Everybody give me one. It looks like it's on circle 3, right? And it's at 240. What's another name? Okay, so if we went only around to 60 and we're told to back up 3, so that would be -3 and +60. Now these aren't too bad in degrees. What would it be if we just went directly here, but we went that way instead? -120, and then we would just do a +3. All right, and then finally, what if we had gone all the way around to here negative? What would that be? -300, and then we would have had to do what to end up over here? Yep, back up 3. So there's a negative. Again, I think as long as you can do them forward, I think it's choices. You just need to look at the graph and say, would this plot in the same spot? One of them is wrong. You have to pick out which one doesn't plot in the same spot. There is some freehand graphing, though, that's not multiple choice, and I think it's in radians, not super tricky. Point A would be on the pi over 3 line. Carefully going back to lands me on which line? 4 pi over 3 right here. And that would be the -2. All right. B is negative pi over 6. What line is that? (11 pi over 6). But then it does say -4, so what line is that? 5 pi over 6 and out to the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's right. Okay, B. Negative pi over 4 is labeled what? It's not labeled. But pi over 4, look at your unit circle if you need to. Pi over 4 is here between pi over 3 and pi over 6. So negative pi over 4 would be here. Also called 7 pi over 4 on your unit circle. And we just go out 3 on that one, right? Here. And then 1, 7 pi over 6. 7 pi over 6 is in this quadrant, and out 1 would just be on that initial little circle there. Yes? No. The one with the other names is a multiple choice, yep. And it might be in degrees, I can't promise. But either way, because you have a graph there, if you just practice graphing them, one of them is going to not land in the right spot. All right, for polars, remember to find r, you do the square root of x squared plus y squared, and to find the angle, you do inverse tangent of y over x. So find the polar coordinates with these rectangular coordinates. Now, my suggestion is you use special right triangles. It'll be a whole lot easier than trying to do Pythagorean theorem on those disgusting numbers, okay? But it's up to you. 5 to the right and down 5 square roots of 3. How does that look, guys? What's your special right triangle there? So 30, 60, 90, the 90's here. Which one's across from square root of 3? 60. Okay. How long is the hypotenuse? If the short leg is 5, the long leg is 5 square roots of 3. It is 10. Otherwise, to get that, you would do 5 squared plus 5 square roots of 3 squared, which is going to be kind of miserable. This should be 25 plus 75, should be 100. When you type it all in, square root of 100 is 10. Now, which two choices are we down to if r is 10? No F, no H. Can you guess which one is right? Which one even is in the right quadrant? Look at your unit circle. It's 2 pi over 3 or 5 pi over 3 over there in quadrant 4. 5 pi over 3, we said it was 60 degrees this way, would have put us at 300 degrees, which is the same as 5 pi over 3. You get to use a unit circle, okay? We all right on those? All right. If you are given an r and a theta, how do you get to rectangular coordinates? Means how do you get to x and y? Anybody tell me? Think vectors. What do you do when you have an r and a theta? R cosine theta is x and r sine theta is y. So this should be 3 cosine of 7 pi over 6 and 3 sine of 7 pi over 6. And then you need to take your unit circle out, but 7 pi over 6 has an ordered pair negative square root of 3 over 2 and negative 1/2. Is someone checking me? Okay. So when we put those values in, we'd have 3 times the x, which would be this. And for the sine, we'd have 3 times negative 1/2, which would give me what? Nice, disgusting answers, guys. How do you write that? 3 times negative square root of 3 over 2. Three times negative 1/2 would be negative 3/2. That is a multiple choice question on the quiz, but what else could you check for the choices? Could you check what quadrant it's in? Okay. Questions? How we did that? Okay. And finally, there's a question on converting the same kind, but it's in degrees. So put your calculator in degree mode, and it says that in the question twice. So 5, negative 8, I'm sorry, negative 5, positive 8. It wants an r and a theta. How do we find an r and a theta? What? Yep, Pythagorean theorem, I think you guys said. 64 and 25, is that 89? So you could put square root of 89 here, or, thank you. And then theta is in quadrant what? 2. So inverse tangent. Now, what am I doing inverse tangent of? 8 over negative 5. This angle opposite over adjacent, or y over x from up here. In degrees. I made sure I asked this in degrees because it just doesn't make a lot of sense to us in radians. I got negative 58 degrees. Okay. Is that in the right quadrant? So we need to add 180. And we get 122. Okay, and I didn't do, yeah, you don't need multiple answers, you just need one. One more or not? Two, negative 4.5. If we do Pythagorean theorem, I can't do that one in my head. You got 1.9? 4.9, that makes sense. And it is in quadrant 4. So when we do inverse tangent of y over x, it's negative 66 degrees. Yeah, if it doesn't tell us, you can leave it a negative, but I think it might say it has to be between 0 and 360. Something like that. In which case, be careful. You want to stay in quadrant 4. So what are you doing? Adding 360, which is 294. Okay. So 4.9 and 294. So I did like 2 of everything today that I was worried about. there's only one of these on the quiz, not like you have to do 2 times. Oh, one of these. Quick, grab your calculator. So we practice this one more time. Follow the directions there. Polar mode. So we go to mode. We go down and make sure we're in polar mode. Then it says radian mode, not degrees. And then it says window 0 to 2 pi by 0.1. And I think the quiz says -5 to 5. And then -5 to 5. And then finally do a zoom square so that they look right. Zoom 5. Oh, I have some other all in already. But if I take all those out, then just pick any one of them. You have to practice. It's a multiple choice question on the quiz, so I give you 4 different equations and you have to say which one matches the graph shown. Does that make sense? This is what I got for these. If you're not getting these, let me know. The homework is to finish the Delta Math review. Has anybody started on it and need some help? The vector ones are a little tricky. I can go over one if you need me to. It is highly likely that we will not have time to retake these sections, so please do your best, okay? So I know a lot of you don't have time to come in for retakes right now with sports and activities and AP tests and all kinds of good stuff.